I left $94,000 on the table. Not because I got scammed, not because I made bad investments, because I didn't read a document that HR emailed me during my first week at work. For 3 years, I had a 401k match I wasn't fully capturing, an HSA I was using like a debit card, an education benefit nobody in my department touched, and a wellness reimbursement I'd never once submitted a receipt for. All of it was sitting there in my benefits portal, available to me, and I just never looked. $94,000 in foregone wealth over 3 years from paperwork I kept meaning to get to. And here's the part that really got me. This wasn't bad luck. It wasn't a market crash. It wasn't some complicated mistake that required expertise to avoid. It was just not paying attention to the terms of a deal I had already agreed to. So I want to talk about something that took me an embarrassingly long time to understand. Because if you're treating your paycheck like a finish line, money comes in, money goes out, try to save whatever's left, you're playing the same game I was, and you're probably leaving a similar number sitting on the table right now. Your employer isn't just paying you a salary. They're operating like a private equity firm with you as the portfolio company, offering you investment terms that most founders would sign immediately. The difference is that founders actually read the term sheet. Most of us are signing ours while thinking about where to eat lunch. Let me show you exactly what I mean. When I finally sat down and added up everything my employer was actually offering, not just my salary, but the full package, I realized there was roughly $9,800 per year sitting in various benefit buckets that I was either partially using or ignoring completely. My company offered a 6% 401k match on my $80,000 salary. That's $4,800 in free money per year I was only partially capturing. A $1,000 employer HSA contribution I wasn't using correctly. A $3,500 annual education benefit that nobody in my department touched. And a $500 wellness reimbursement I had never once claimed. Add that up, almost $10,000 a year. Over a 30-year career, even without investment growth, that's close to $300,000. With compound growth at 7%, you're looking at something close to $1 million. Because I didn't read the benefits portal, I'm not exaggerating when I say it felt like I'd been walking past a check on the table every single day for 3 years. Let me start with the most obvious one, because this is where I see the most costly mistakes happen. The 401k employer match is a guaranteed 100% return on investment the second the money hits your account. Not 8%, not 12%, 100%. The moment you contribute $1 and your employer matches it, you've doubled your money before the market has done anything at all. I used to tell myself I couldn't afford to contribute 6% of my paycheck. Looking back, that thinking was completely backwards. I couldn't afford not to contribute 6%. When you skip the match, you're not being financially conservative. You're turning down free money because the paperwork feels annoying. There is no investment in the world, no stock, no real estate deal, no side hustle that offers a guaranteed 100% return with zero risk on day one. Here's how I think about it now. Imagine you started a business. An investor comes to you and says, for every dollar of your own money you put in, I'll match it. No equity required, no board seat, no control, just free money. You'd sign that deal so fast the pen would catch fire. That's exactly what the 401k match is. And a third of eligible employees in this country aren't capturing the full amount. If that statistic doesn't make your stomach hurt a little, I don't know what will. Now here's one most people completely sleep on. The health savings account is probably the greatest legal tax loophole in the entire American financial system. Money goes in pre-tax. It grows tax-free. And if you use it for medical expenses, it comes out tax-free. That's triple tax advantage on a single account. No other account in the American tax code does this. Your 401k is tax deferred. You pay taxes on withdrawal. Your Roth IRA grows tax-free, but contributions are after tax. The HSA is in its own category entirely. I was using mine like a checking account for co-pays and band-aids. I was driving a Ferrari to the mailbox. The real move is this. Max out your HSA every year and never touch it. Pay medical expenses out of pocket. Keep your receipts. Let that account compound for 30 years. In retirement, you've got a pile of tax-free money sitting there while everyone else is paying taxes on every dollar they pull out. Most people treat their HSA like a debit card. The people who actually get ahead treat it like a second retirement account, because that's exactly what it is. Now let me tell you about a conversation I had with a guy on my team a couple of years ago. Smart, ambitious, always talking about developing his skills and moving into a higher paying role. I mentioned the education reimbursement benefit one day. He looked at me like I just told him there was a door in the wall that had been there the whole time. He had no idea it existed. He'd been paying out of pocket for online courses for 3 years. My company offered up to $5,000 a year for education expenses, courses, certifications, even partial degree programs. The only condition was that it had to be reasonably related to professional development. No repayment, no strings. Just, here's money to become a more skilled person. This is a grant. In the startup world, founders bend over backwards chasing grants because grants are money you never pay back and never give up equity for. Your employer is offering you grants right now, and most people aren't filing the paperwork. If your company offers $5,000 a year in education benefits and you don't use it for 5 years, that's $25,000 in free skill development you walked away from. That's not a rounding error. That's a down payment on a house you didn't save because you thought you couldn't afford to invest in yourself. And those skills are portable. Every certification, every course, every credential you earn on company time with company money, you own that forever. You take it to your next employer, use it to negotiate a higher salary, build something on the side, the company funds your development, and you keep the results. Okay, those are the explicit benefits. But I want to zoom out because this is where the real shift happens. Your paycheck is not the end goal. Your paycheck is seed funding. Every successful business needs initial capital before it can generate real returns. Real estate investors need down payments. Index fund investors need principal to compound. Entrepreneurs need runway. For most people, that initial capital comes from exactly one place: their salary. Your 9-to-5 isn't the investment, it's the investor. When I started thinking about it this way, everything shifted. I stopped seeing my job as something to survive every week and started seeing it as a strategic partnership. The salary I get on Friday is the same money that buys my index fund shares on Monday, or eventually makes a down payment possible. My employer is a capital partner, whether they realize it or not. This is why the people who actually get ahead aren't the ones who quit their jobs to chase passive income with zero runway. They're the ones who use their jobs strategically. They capture every match, claim every reimbursement, and then deploy that capital into assets that actually compound. Most people do the opposite. They see the salary as spending money, ignore the benefits because paperwork is boring, and wonder why they're not building wealth while working full-time. You're running a business that's rejecting investment capital and turning down grants. Of course, the math isn't working. Your job also buys you 3 things that are worth far more than most people realize: credibility, stability, and optionality. Credibility first. When you're employed, and especially at a recognizable company, banks give you mortgages, landlords approve your applications, credit cards give you real limits. You can make investments and purchases that would be difficult or impossible as an unemployed person, even with the same cash. Employment is a signal. It opens doors. Use it while you have it. Stability creates runway. When you have a predictable paycheck, you can take calculated risks with your invested capital. You can buy a rental property with leverage because you can prove income. You can invest aggressively because you're not depending on those assets for immediate survival. You can start a business on the side because your living expenses are covered. The salary isn't the wealth. The salary is the safety net that makes aggressive wealth building possible. And optionality might be the most important one of all. Every year you stay employed and keep building, you're buying yourself choices. The choice to take a sabbatical. The choice to switch careers. The choice to walk away from a toxic situation because your investments can cover your expenses while you figure out what's next. Most people think freedom comes from escaping the 9-to-5. That's completely backwards. Freedom comes from using the 9-to-5 to build enough assets that the 9-to-5 becomes optional. That's the whole game. When people say they want to quit their job and be free, what they usually mean is they want optionality without having built the foundation for it. That's not freedom. That's unemployment with better marketing. Let me make this concrete. Because theory without execution is just entertainment. Year 1. You're making $65,000. You start capturing the full 401k match. You stop using your HSA as a checking account. You submit your first education reimbursement for a certification that makes you more marketable. That first year you might only bank $4,000 in actual savings beyond retirement. Feels small, but you've moved $15,000 into tax-advantaged accounts and skill development. You're building infrastructure. Year 3. The certification paid off, you got promoted. Now you're at $80,000. You kept your lifestyle essentially flat. Maybe you upgraded your phone and bought a nicer mattress, but you didn't move to the luxury apartment. That discipline created a gap. You're saving $12,000 a year in taxable accounts on top of maxing retirement. You're not rich, but you're liquid. And liquidity is the raw material of opportunity. Here's the trap most people fall into at this point. They let the extra income blend into their checking account. Suddenly they're eating out more, upgrading things they don't need, lifestyle creeping right back to zero. Treat that gap like a completely separate entity. The moment it appears, move it. Don't let it touch your grocery money. Automation is the difference between people who build wealth and people who just talk about it. Year 5. A small condo hits the market during a soft patch. Undervalued because it needs cosmetic work that scares most buyers. You have $35,000 saved. You put 20% down, finance the rest at a competitive rate because your W-2 makes you creditworthy, and rent it out. The rent covers the mortgage plus $100 a month. Your job didn't buy that property. Your job made buying that property possible. Year 7. The condo has appreciated. You've built $80,000 in equity. You take out a HELOC and put a down payment on a second property. Now you have 2 rentals. Your W-2 is still your stability, but your net worth is starting to compound independently. The salary is the fuel. The assets are the engine. Year 10. Your 401k has been growing at 7% annually. It's sitting at over $200,000. Your HSA, never touched, is at $45,000. 3 rental properties generating $1,800 a month in positive cash flow. Your brokerage account has $120,000 in index funds. Total net worth just crossed $600,000. Maybe you switched companies once for a better package, which is not disloyalty. It's just closing one investment round and opening another with better terms. Staying at one company for 20 years out of loyalty while the market would pay you 30% more elsewhere is leaving real money on the table. Not because your company is bad, but because you're not forcing a renegotiation. At year 10, here's what changes. You're not dependent on the job. You're leveraging it. If your boss is unreasonable, you can walk. If a better opportunity appears in another city, you can take it. You're not chained to the paycheck. You're optimizing it. That is a completely different psychological experience than where most people are at year 10. Now let me address the objection I know is forming. What if you're not making $80,000? What if you're at $45,000 and barely keeping up? The math scales. That's the whole point. At $45,000, after taxes, you're probably taking home around $34,000. If your company offers even a 3% match, that's $1,350 of free money annually. Strategic benefit use can save you another $1,500 to $2,000 in taxes through the HSA. That's $3,300 you didn't have before you understood the system. It's not retirement next year, but it's the foundation. The principles don't change based on income. The timeline does. The person making $45,000 who captures every benefit and controls lifestyle inflation will end up in a dramatically better position than the person making $80,000 who ignores their benefits and spends every raise before it has a chance to compound. Income matters, but behavior matters more. Here's the honest truth about how this feels from the inside, because this is the part nobody talks about. The first few years are genuinely hard to stay disciplined. Not painful, just a quiet, constant kind of hard. You're making progress you can't see yet. You're watching other people buy things you're choosing not to buy. You're contributing to accounts that feel abstract and far away. And then something shifts. The compounding becomes visible. The accounts that felt small start to feel substantial. The properties that felt like a stretch start generating real income. And the decisions that required discipline start to feel automatic. Not because you forced habits, but because the evidence of the strategy working makes the alternatives feel obviously worse. There's a psychological shift too that I didn't anticipate. When your investments can cover a meaningful percentage of your expenses, your relationship to your job changes entirely. You stop needing it in the same desperate way. You become a better employee, paradoxically, because you're there by choice rather than necessity. You make clearer decisions. You advocate for yourself more confidently. That's the end game. Not quitting in some dramatic walkout. Not retiring at 35. The end game is reaching the point where your job serves you instead of you serving it. Where showing up is a strategic choice, not a survival requirement. Your employer thinks they're buying your time. Let them think that. Meanwhile, you're running a parallel operation where their salary funds, your equity, their benefits build your safety net, and their credibility opens doors they'll never walk through themselves. The real thing nobody tells you isn't that your job underpays you. It's that most people never realize their job is the best investor they'll ever have. And they spend their whole career walking past the deal because they never stop to read the term sheet. Don't be most people. Extract everything available to you. Build quietly. And leave when the math says you can, not when your emotions do.